Welcome, everybody, to Enhancing the Accountant Bookkeeper Connection series webinar starting now. And of course, this is featuring my friend and my accountant, Jonathan Carter from CATA Accounting and New Dad. So hello, I'm Tanya Hilt. I am a certified professional bookkeeper. I've got my fellow through CPB as well as AIA, which is accredited impactful advisor and a level 5 certified advisor. I am here because I am passionate about collaboration, and you can find me at Tanya's Bootcamp anywhere, Threads, Twitter, or X as it's now called, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. There are some of my my designations, my recent accolades. I am not going to go through them. You guys can all read this. Many of you already know me. If you want to look, there you are. You can take a look. I know some people would say, Tanya, own that stuff, but yeah, that's okay. You guys can all read. Oh, and the one thing that's not added here is 2023 community votes. We actually won in December, best bookkeeping firm and best accounting firm for Platinum, which is hilarious because although we offer client accounting services, we are not an accounting firm. We don't do the same things that Jonathan does. We have a little bit of overlap, but they still consider us in both categories. So I'm happy to take both categories because when we need an accountant, Jonathan is the first choice that we pull in anyway. And who works very well with our team. So this does tie into our topic today. And I'm not going to say what the topic is. I'll let Jonathan do that. But the secret to marketing success is no secret at all. Word of mouth is all that matters. Now, there were two quotes that I went back and forth with. There was this one, and then there was another one that in order to get referrals, you need to have a trusting relationship. And I can't remember who put that one in. I just picked this one, but this is going to lead into our topic today, which I will let Jonathan go through. So just to confirm, this webinar does qualify for CPD or CEC credits, not just through CPB Canada. It does actually now meet, although CPB Canada has advanced approved, it does meet all qualifications or should meet all qualifications for CPA as well as the US. It's just not advanced approval through them, so they may require some more details, but we are issuing the credits, the credit certificates that should suffice. If you need anything else, just let me know. There will be two polls that must both be answered in order to qualify for the CPD or CEC, and recording of the webinar and your CPD/CEC credits will be emailed within 2 days. If you do not receive it, it is either it's gone to your spam, take a look there, or you may have potentially at one point or another unsubscribed from my list, in which case then you need to resubscribe. And to do that, here's the instructions on that, but just reach out if you need help because I want to make sure that you are getting everything. So Jonathan and his team. So there's Jonathan pre-beard. We are now looking at Jonathan. I can't say post-beard, but working on the beard. And we've been collaborating with Jonathan and his team for a number of years. Not only is he a very good friend of mine, he is my personal accountant. He is the first person that we refer our clients to because I know absolutely that I can trust him, his team explicitly to do what's right for the client, to talk to the client in lay terms and to work with us and not try to take our business. So there are many reasons. There's more than just that we work with Jonathan. Multiple mutual clients. Our clients love him as well too. He is proficient in QBO. And I love the fact that we don't get journal entries just saying to, adjust the AP or the our balance without letting us know a client and stuff, because he does understand how those journal entries work within QBO, which makes everything so much easier. They've got amazing attention to detail and outstanding customer service. So I am going to stop sharing. Jonathan, you can start and you can take it away. And Carrie, just you've asked, yes, it is being recorded. I think you might have asked before I covered that. But if not, we'll chat more. Okay.
So as always, I have the two monitors going. Sometimes I'm going to look up here when people are speaking because I want to see who's speaking. And then this is where my presentation is, where I'm looking now. So we're in that time of year. I'm just curious, can people raise their hands? Who has been contacted by an investment advisor looking to get referrals for RRSP contributions? Only 2, 3. Wow, that's kind of shocking. Okay.
Well, Sandra can put her hand up because I see her emails. I just delete them before she gets to them. They come into support. So yes, we definitely are on multiple emails.
Well, I figured this was kind of a timely subject to talk about just referrals and get some juices flowing with how are people giving and receiving referrals? What kind of situations do you do things like that? So I thought this would be a good topic. And having a great referral network can be really, really powerful. My best friend built a very, very successful real estate brokerage that started, and I think it was probably for nearly the first decade, they were by referral only. And I know that there are other, the best of the best consultants out there. They're not advertising. They're getting all their business by referral. So, um, quick, my quick spiel. I'm the founder of Cat Accounting Solutions Professional Corp. Member of the inaugural Intuit Accountants Council. I'm a big fan of Intuit. I like when I have the opportunity to work with them. I'm going to take the 2018 Inspire Accountant Award off. That's a little old now, a little dated. We are currently still Elite Pro advisors, but I think with the new system that might change, and we might drop down to Platinum, QBO Advanced Certified. All of our team are QBO Basic Certified, and we have three of us now who are Advanced Certified. I've made the Insightful Accountant Top 100 3 years in a row, and was very fortunate that our firm was named CPB Firm of the Year for 2023. We do work with a lot of cloud bookkeeping firms. We do love working with technology. We're a completely remote workforce up to a headcount of 8 now. And yeah, it's definitely been an interesting journey, and there've been some awesome people along the way. So another quick show of hands, who gives referrals? Who gets okay, so pretty much everybody. Who gets referrals? Pretty much everybody again. Excellent, excellent. So I want to go through a few different things. I used to do a lot of in-person networking. It was successful for me, but I find that you have to sow the seeds and you have to have patience. Just because you meet somebody who has a need doesn't mean they're going to be your client necessarily ever, right? Like the in-person networking can really eat up a lot of time. It can really eat up a lot of money. And sometimes the ROI on it, you really have to closely examine how you're spending that time. So I want to talk about what is a referral, because what I found was a lot of the times I wasn't getting referrals. What is a referral partner and what makes a good referral partner? Building your referral network, the dangers of making a referral pitfalls. I guess it's kind of the same thing. And then setting expectations and rewarding referrals. And of course, I'm hoping that we're going to have a really engaged group today and a good discussion. So let's go to poll question number 1. Who can a bookkeeper refer to? A, anyone. B, CPAs. C, lawyers. D, doctors. E, none of the above. And unfortunately, you're going to have to relaunch that.
Yep, I caught that just as soon as I did it. So sorry, guys. So share results, stop sharing. Let me
Go off camera.
back in and relaunch. Relaunch. Oh, nope, still didn't work. Stop sharing. Okay. When I relaunch it, I still don't think you guys can you? Just go ahead, put it in the chat. Oh, you guys all can? Okay, perfect. And say anybody who's had the issues, put it in the chat.
Yeah, I was able to click.
Awesome. Okay, perfect.
It's all about me, you know.
Of course.
Oh.
So that's okay, because if we take somebody who's either tech challenged or like myself, I am right now, I guess challenging tech, shall we say. I said to the other day, I've got one of those like EMF or EMP things or whatever, that thing that, if you turn it off, all tech stops, because that's been me for the past 5 days. Tech is not my friend.
Right. Do we have results?
And poll, share results. Yes.
Yeah, I think in business, anyone can refer to anyone. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea, but it's possible. Um, I don't know why I put doctors in there because I don't know about where everybody else lives, but there are almost no doctors taking new patients in our area. Okay. So what is a referral? Let's talk about that for a minute. In everybody else's opinion, what does it mean to get a referral? Any thoughts?
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Fine.
Steve, you can okay. To me, it's trust. It's all about trust, that you trust the person that you're referring to. And most of the time, I try to, if I like the person I'm referring to, because we've got a good trusting relationship, I try not to send them crap. I try to, so I trust the person, or believe that they're going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
Steve, you had your hand up too.
Same idea. Is just trust or confidence in the ability of the person. If you're referring, then you want to make sure that they look good for you. You don't want to refer to somebody that just doesn't provide the service that the individual wants, the client wants. So it's just vitally important that you have that understanding of them too.
Yeah. I would say that's really important. As a general practice, um, if somebody is ethically questionable, I'm just not going to refer them to anybody. I just don't want anything to do with them. I don't want my name associated with them, so they can, good luck. I'm sorry, I cannot help. It's rare that I have to say that, but sometimes it does.
Yeah. So I just want to bring up for those that are still sitting as non-panelists. Um, I've gone through and re-invited everybody else, and of course, to be able to interact with us, we do need you as a panelist. So Ali, I see your hand is up. I've invited you in, and if you've got something to say, you need to be in here to be able to say it. So accept that, or send me a little note in chat if you're having difficulties.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Jonathan.
No worries. So I was talking a little bit at the beginning about in-person networking. And what I found with the in-person networking is people would have a memory from a conversation they're having, and they would give a name and a phone number or an email address to somebody, but the person might not be aware that their information is being given out. And when you called them, it looked really bad, not only on you, but on the person who was giving that, and I'm going to use air quotes here, referral, because it was completely cold. The person is not aware that their information is being distributed. They might have a need, but they're immediately distrusting when they get called out of the blue, when they have a random need. Warm lead, I would say, is more the person has said, yes, please give my information, and then being contacted by a service provider. Whereas a referral, I would say, is a direct introduction. Hopping on a conference call. Our favorite is an introductory email. And usually, things can go from there. And as everybody knows, we're very collaborative. So it tends to be a very involved process with this. It tends not to be like, okay, here, I'm handing this off. I want to talk about that. I know there's a lot of different in-person networking things where there are requirements for giving referrals every week. And I know that in my experience, those were not effective at enhancing your reputation. If anything, they probably damaged my reputation.
So can I just jump in? I've got a thought on that, if it's okay, John.
Yes, please.
So we are involved in what is I 100% agree about that with some of the networking groups. So our local BNI group is that. I will have nothing to do with them because I don't want, you're forced to bring 2 a week. I don't want the crap. I want a real referral. I don't care if I don't get any for 6 months. I want a real one instead of the garbage ones, right? So what happened here, and you can find this in your area, they will have different things or like different names, but here there was the people in the BNI group that didn't like that and that felt the same way, that they were getting garbage and they wanted to get real referrals, and they moved off into another one, and that's called Select Referral Team is what they call it. So it's going to be different because they're not franchised this. It'll be different for each one. Our fees are only $250 a year versus what you pay like $1,000 plus with BNI. 150 of that goes straight towards a golf tournament as well. But how it works is they call them, we need to try to get to 2 a week, but those don't have to be referrals. That can be, hey, Jonathan, you put something out on social media and I shared that with my people. We do a high five or a team building interview. They call it a TBI, where we sit down. So I'm trying to have one of those a week where we sit down and just find out about each other and about your businesses and about the clients that you want. So their focus is on real connections and real referrals. And if you don't have that referral, are you interacting with people in the group and just trying to support the group versus having to bring 2 referrals? So, you may find people out there that have gotten sick of that, the BNI way, and gone to their own way, and something. So you still can find some really good ones out there. You'll just have to look.
I'm going to take things in a little bit of a different direction right away with Chambers of Commerce. So I used to be a member with the Mississauga Board of Trade. Excellent organization. I really enjoyed being a member on it. But as far as a referral network goes, it really wasn't, because the people who came were not decision makers. There were larger organizations for the most part. All the accountants and bookkeepers would end up in the corner, usually by the bar, speaking together at events. And the people who are out there really aggressively networking, and I'm going to emphasize that again, aggressively networking, were salespeople from these various other companies. So that really wasn't a great investment of time and money for me. So let's talk the difference between a salesperson and a referral partner. A referral partner, you have an established relationship. It's a two-way street. Referrals go back and forth. Tanya's always has my back, and I really, really appreciate that. And when we get something that we think could be good or a better fit than us, we send it her way as well. And it is a two-way street with us. If it's not a two-way street, you're just a sales channel for the person you're giving.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up later, that yes, some people may think, you know what, Jonathan does offer bookkeeping services. But you know what? I have the trust with him, and he's not going to try to take one of my clients on the bookkeeping. He actually, he won't even entertain that conversation. Basically with the clients, and reaches in and says, you realize your client's looking for new bookkeeping type of thing on that. But yes, we do have a client that, yes, Jonathan's team handles part of it. We handle part of it. She's got, 2 corporate businesses, and, we kind of like get back and forth in there. So yes, we have received referrals for actual bookkeeping as well, because it wasn't a good fit. So just because you're working, there's an accountant that you trust or a bookkeeper that you trust, whichever, and you're now offering the same services. Again, if you've got that trusted relationship, doesn't mean that they're going to try and take, or that you won't get referrals back.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I want to go on because you're touching on stuff that I think is really important to speak about. So some of the best traits of referral partners is, number one, they do competent and professional work. They don't embarrass you. Quick show of hands, who here has been embarrassed by what you've referred when you referred somebody to somebody else? I see 4 hands, and Steve is actually covering his face. So 5, 6 hands, 7 hands. Yeah. So we've all experienced it. So unfortunately, I don't know, and I'd love to open up a little conversation here. How do you know somebody is competent and professional to work with and will handle your referral well if you've not worked with them before? Carol's got something to say.
Pretty much what I can say to that is, I take the time to get to know the person prior to doing any referrals, because I've kind of done it hastily sometimes, either been in not, well, a BNI, but other types of groups where you're talking to people, and, everybody can talk a good game, but, until you actually get to know them to find out stuff. I mean, I was at my brother's one time, and one of his friends' wives was going on and on about a bookkeeper, and, I was hiring, so I should hire her, and blah, blah, blah. And, I just kind of kept it in check and asked her a couple, oh, I just do accounts payable, and oh, I just throw everything in there and I just pay it. And the red flags started, I just let her talk, and the red flags started flying here, there, and everywhere. And it would be somebody that would not be a good fit in my world. And so I'm very cautious as to who I, bring into my world or use as a referral to someone else, for sure.
I think that's really important. I think that's really important. Yeah. Anybody else have anything to add? Go on, Steve.
Um, two sides and all come down to certification. I will no longer refer anybody and I will no longer hire anybody if I can't confirm their certification, specifically bookkeeping and accounting. I can't stand people who say they're an accountant with no designation that, oh, I'm an accountant. Oh, no, you're a tax preparer or, you know, I'm a bookkeeper. And as Carol was saying, oh yeah, I do some AR, say AP. I have been burned so many times, both sides, that well, one, my staff won't allow me to hire people anymore because in the past I hadn't done it correctly. And now it's just the certification to me is at least giving you that insight that yeah, they've gone through and they have credentials. And again, you
Mhm,
still have to check and see if they're a good fit, if they're a good person, if they know how to apply it. But to me,
mhm.
wow, that's really the bottom line now.
Yeah, yeah. And Lynn had something to say there as well.
Basically, it comes down to I have to establish that relationship and know what kind of a person they are and what kind of integrity they have and their skill set. And that comes from working with them before I'm going to refer them, because my referral is gold. I don't want somebody to come back and say, oh, yeah, you referred me to the dweeb, you know, that you absolute lost
Yeah,
cause. Yeah, I
yeah.
don't want
No,
it. I don't want that to ever come back in my face.
yeah, that's exactly it. And I'm going to get a bit more into the dangers of a bad referral. But one thing that I've really noticed, oh, I see Ali Akbari has the hand raised. Is that to come in as a panelist and having
Well,
something to say?
yeah, I've invited him in. So actually, oh, let me see. Here's an allow to talk without coming in. So let me see. Okay, Allie,
There.
there. So if you've got something that you'd like to say, you now don't have to come in as a panelist. Just you have to take yourself off mute, and I think that's why your hand is being raised.
Mm,
Not sure. Okay. Take yourself off mute and throw your 2 cents in then, Allie, if and when you're ready. And if there's anything else that you're raising your hand that you need, just please type it into the chat.
yeah, I think we should just keep going. But
Yeah.
I want to talk quickly about the two-way street for referrals, particularly between accountants and bookkeepers. There are accountants who do different kinds of work, accountants and lawyers and doctors, and I would even say bookkeepers as well. There could be a variety of different specialties and expertise and so on along the way that really you have to have the right person. So let me give you a good example. Ken. Does everybody here know Ken? Or some people here know Ken, I believe. He does a lot of work with restaurants. So when we get a query about bookkeeping for restaurants, guess who we're going to speak to? You know, what's another good example? Well, e-commerce. I mean, I think everybody knows about how we will refer business to e-commerce users, and it depends on what they need, whether they're in QBO or whether they're in Zero. That depends on which direction that referral will go to, right? And then with accountants, we don't touch anything outside of Canada. We do work outside of Canada, but only for Canadian issues. So then we've, of course, made partnerships with people who can help with, say, filing those American tax returns or things like that. I think it's really important to have good marketing and systems in place to facilitate the communication. As I'm sure I've told people before, communications are top value. It's really the key to having a successful client relationship. Being able to do the work is a good start, but you have to be able to communicate what's going on. And when somebody doesn't have it, it makes me more hesitant to refer to them. If my referral pool is shallow in that realm, they might still get referrals. But the minute I find somebody else who I think can help, I'm going to start vetting that person and seeing if we can switch kind of the ranking order. And finally, the thing that I really think is very important is that the referral partners are collaborative. You work together for stuff. If it's, say, somebody who does RSP investing or investing in general, having that conversation. What's optimal? What's the tax strategy for this client? Should they be in RRSPs, or are RRSPs the wrong vehicle for them? Do they have room in their RRSPs? Should they be considering spousal RRSPs? Or are there other tools that might be better for them? I'm just curious, did I miss anything here in people's opinions? No? Okay. So we've talked a bit about the dangers of bad referrals. Oh, let's get on with building the referral network. So with the referral network, I would be intentional. What do your clients ask you about? What do they need? Right? So one of the top things that we're always looking for, business insurance. The number of clients we see without business insurance blows my mind. And the number of insurance salespeople out there who actually sell business insurance, that pool is actually quite shallow compared to the insurance people out there. There's dozens of people who will call you up for life insurance, dozens and dozens, hundreds of people like that. But for business insurance, it's a bit different, right? You want to guard your reputation. You don't want to be referring to somebody who's going to, give a bad client experience in any way, or not be competent with the work they're being referred to do. And then I would suggest going and finding good partners, going out and being very intentional about it. In your networking group, is this the right person to refer to, or is it not? What kind of referrals are you going to get from this person and give to this person? For example, in a networking group, if somebody's constantly advertising themselves the cheapest, they're probably not going to be a good referral person for you, because everyone they refer to you is going to be a price shop, and that's it. They're just going to want the lowest price and just get it done, right? So that's something else. And then, of course, vet the referral partners. I like the idea of designations. Not all bookkeepers have designations, and I have met several very competent bookkeepers who do not have designations, but I do very, very strongly favor the CPB designations.
Yep. So can I just add to that when you're looking at building your referral network, and this is one thing that I've learned with the SRT, is you're right, first off, being intentional, but I think it's also important when you're talking to people that, are happy to refer, you need to be able to tell them who you're looking for. You need to be able to tell them who your ideal client is. And if you can't, that will help then solidify better referrals for you. So just throwing that out there, that you need to be able to identify your ideal client.
Yep, absolutely. And be where they are. You know what I mean? Some in-person networking groups are just chock full of MLM people, and MLM is a perfectly valid marketing strategy, but let's be frank, it is a marketing strategy by larger organizations. It is not a business person. You're not a business. You're a salesperson. You can get cut out at any time if you're in an MLM. They can just go direct to the customer. They have all that information. You're just generating sales. So if you don't want to be working with those people, then you shouldn't be where those people are. If you want to work with, say, technology companies, you need to go to some technology events. If you want to work with construction companies, you need to go where they are. Those are the different kinds of things I'm trying to say about here. So we've identified several of the dangers of making referrals. Number one is a bad fit. The one referral that comes top of mind that we sent to Tanya, I just thought that they would work better together than how we were working together. I thought that it was a much better fit with Tanya. And to be clear, this is still a client of ours on the tax side. And we were working together on bookkeeping training, but that's not really what she really needed a Tanya and my CBS, and that's what she got. Poaching, of course, you don't want to send business to somebody who's going to take that business away from you. Once bitten, that's it. But you get one strike. And I've had a lot of, oops, I did that. And sorry, you're never getting a referral from me again, because whether it was intentional or not, you lied to me. We had one situation not long ago. Well, actually, no, I rephrase. We had one situation quite some time ago at the very beginning where I had a personal tax client who needed a US tax return done. I spoke with the person. We were very clear that, okay, you're going to do this. It'll be done by the 15th. We'll get the Canadian in by the 30th. So I reached out on the 5th, I think it was like the 17th of April or something. I was like, all right, how'd it go? Are you ready? And she's like, oh, sorry, I already did that return. It just made sense to me. She's never gotten a referral from me again, that person. And she won't ever get a referral from me again.
And I also point out that if that happens, if you've got a client that is creating that type of exposure in or that type of situation, and you are allowing it, what makes you think they're not going to turn around and do it to you? Right? If somebody does it, like we did have somebody, and Jonathan and I spoke about it, that same person was like, well, does it make sense for me to do the personal taxes? And I'm like, well, why are you looking to leave Jonathan and whatever? And I'm like, Jonathan's a guy I trust with my stuff too. And, so Jonathan and I had that conversation, and I have no idea where that came up with the client, but the client is now fine. Jonathan and I had, the conversations on tax planning, because she's calling me and asking me one thing and asking him another thing. So kind of getting what might seem like different advice, but we pull it together because we work well together. But now, if that was somebody who's looking for a better deal or for whatever, and didn't want to work with Jonathan again, but didn't want to have that conversation again, if we do that, that's karma. They're going to turn around and do that to us with somebody else down the road. So you've also got to think about that. So first off, now you're burning a relationship with somebody who is a trusted person just to potentially have that done. It's like with a cheater. If they cheat once and, you were the other woman, what makes you think there's not going to be another woman, right? Or another man or whatever, right? So anyway, just
Really
had to
good
throw that point of view in.
That's a really good point. The last point that I'd like to really emphasize is liability. Ensure you're not taking unnecessary risks by making a referral. I have consulted CPA Ontario. I've consulted my insurance company and my legal counsel. And their advice to me was to, when I'm making a referral, particularly when it comes to investments, make sure you give the client a choice. Don't refer one person, refer at least 3, and then let the client choose. And that way you can demonstrate that if they come back to you and say, hey, this person ripped me off or something, people don't need a good reason to sue you. You can end up in court over, a bad feeling, and it can take your time, take your energy, and take your money, even if you're completely absolved of all liability. It can still cost you in many, many ways. So that's something I wanted to talk about just real quickly. So a couple things that we do to ensure or to help safeguard against poaching, because we do work with several bookkeeping firms, is we talk to them about the situation. Tanya was instrumental, along with a few other very, I'd say, high profile bookkeepers, who helped us create a process of, this are the steps that we take when a tax client of ours says, hey, can you do our bookkeeping cheaper? Or, are you, I'm shopping around for a bookkeeper. I'm not happy for whatever reason. So we have multiple steps that we do. Whenever anybody's looking for a price, the first thing we say is like, we do bookkeeping, but we are more expensive. If you're working with a bookkeeping firm, you're going to pay less. So if you're a price shopper, like that's not the ideal client for us, right? We want quality of service. Also, if there is that communication from a client, like Tanya said, maybe that client is just kind of afraid to talk about it directly with the bookkeeping firm and their team. So it's good for us that one of our first steps is to communicate back with the bookkeeper and find out what's going on here, if they're aware, those kind of things. And we've actually been sent, we have one bookkeeping client who, on a personal level, I just really, really like the guy. He was sent to us by another bookkeeping firm because they felt the fit would be better and he would be good with us and he would be happy with us. And it's worked out really well. So yeah, that was just some comments about that. Does anybody else have any comments or questions about the dangers of making referrals? Does anybody have any horror stories they'd like to share? All right, Karen. Karen's still muted.
Yeah, she's having trouble finding her unmute button. Technologically challenged this morning. Yeah, I actually had an extremely unhappy client of ours call me yesterday. I had referred her to a marketer, and the marketer had been wonderful for us, but unfortunately her experience had been terrible because the marketer wasn't skilled in her area. So that is my bad. So I think it's not a problem with the client. Thank heavens, I've known her for many, many years. It might be a problem with the marketer. So it's a bad experience. And I had referred somebody who I thought was capable of doing this, but apparently was not, and didn't do any research. And that was the problem.
I hate to say it, but there's a lot of, and I'll use air quotes out there, marketers out there, especially in the social media space.
Oh,
who advertise
yeah, I
on-
know, but we used this person and thought she was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it was a good, right fit for you, wrong fit for the other person.
I think that's exactly the
Maybe
problem.
the other
Yeah.
person wanted a Ferrari and was trying to buy a moped.
Unfortunately, she was charged for a Ferrari and got a moped.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I may have to
I had
mediate, but yeah.
I had an experience some time ago where we referred somebody who, long story short, the owner of the business had some chauvinistic tendencies. So we connected him with a male bookkeeper. And that male bookkeeper took a deposit on services and didn't do any of the services, just disappeared. So those kind of things can happen. Luckily, we did not get sued, but again, we had made referrals to 3 different bookkeepers. So that person had that choice. There are times where I have a deep relationship with a bookkeeper and I know 100% that this bookkeeper is going to kill for the client. And I have no problem doing a single referral situation. Any other dangers you guys want to talk about? All right. So the referral pitfalls, you don't know what you don't know, right? Until you got the feedback or you've experienced working with the referral partner, you don't know what the client's experience is going to be like. Also, you're not the client, so you don't know how the client behaved during that whole process either. And then, of course, until you've sent a referral out, you're not going to know if there's a hidden danger. Now, when it comes to investments, I want, people who really have a good reputation. I want to see safeguards and controls in place. I have never referred anybody to any kind of crypto or blockchain investment, despite being somewhat involved in that industry. There's way too many bad actors out there, and I don't want my name associated with any of them. Randomly, that a couple of years ago, the first time I did the bookkeeping for blockchain presentation at CPB Ignite, the night before, there was this big CBC national story about the crypto king of Canada and going down and getting busted. And it turns out that my high school buddy is lawyer for the people suing them. So that turned out pretty funny. Guard your reputation. Remember that a bad referral will affect your reputation, even though you didn't necessarily do anything. And you can be sued. So if you're going to make referrals, make sure you've gone over with your insurance company about how you should do it. So, does anybody here offer incentives for referrals? Steve, you kind of went like this. What's up?
Casual, like if we do get a referral from either another, well, usually from clients, then we might give them a gift card or just something on a minor scale. Nothing formal though, like we don't have a set process or policy saying if you refer somebody, we'll give you $100 discount or what have you. So it just seems to be more casual and just little things tailored to that individual just to say thanks.
And at what point do you give those referrals or give those rewards?
Honestly, if it's any of our existing clients, we will do that on a regular basis. So if we do get them, I'm just saying we don't have a set amount or so any of our current clients, we don't have a banner saying, hey, we'll pay you for a referral or we'll give you a gift for a referral. It's just something that we do internally. So when we get them, get the referral, we will give them a small token gift.
And what does that mean, referral? Like,
Oh,
is the referral like somebody who's just gonna book a meeting and chat with you, or is that somebody who
I'm sorry. Yeah,
has
when we have a client come on board, we just had one last week where there was one of our existing clients said they needed something specifically done in accounting and year end, and the client referred their friend to us, and then we were able to onboard that client and have prepare their tax returns. So that to me was a complete process, and at that point, this referral became a new client. So
Yeah.
we thought it was nice, and we said, hey, thank you very much, send a gift card, and I think we sent a dinner card for them. But it just, again, it just depends. So nothing formal is what I was mentioning, nothing that I don't know if anybody else has a specific plan for referrals or what they do with them. I'm curious.
So, oh, okay. So yeah, we do. It's very different though. And so if somebody refers somebody over to the bookkeeping side of it, I actually want to make it very clear to people doing the referring and people coming on board. They are not referring because they get money, because they get something out of it. So if there's somebody who sends over a lot of referrals and nice clients, yeah, you know what, I might do something like, send them something extra on that, some flowers, some tickets, a gift card. But what our formal process is that once we onboard, once they sign the contract and first payment is made, we actually issue a donation in the person's name who referred them over to Beagle Freedom Project, because that's we've been really working with that the last couple of years. So we actually do that, and we have these little thank you cards that are actually printed up, so they do get then a physical thank you card with a picture of a beagle on it. No, that's not Rosie, but and just a little note in here that that's what we do. So depending on the size of the client will depend on the size of the donation. So that is not set in stone with that. If it's just a small referral, but we did this as a thank you and to add the social impact, because one thing that I've really noticed, I like it as well when we've been doing this the last few years, but if you watch Dragon's Den and Shark Tank and stuff, you will notice that there is a great big increase in the businesses that have a social side as well, and they're having a social impact. So I'm kind of able to pull both of those together by doing that, and by saying, you know what, we're going to acknowledge it, but you're doing this because not because you're getting something out of it, but because you feel we're truly the best fit.
Yeah. Jennifer, I saw you had your hand up earlier. I see it's gone down. Did you have something you wanted to talk about? You're on mute, Jennifer.
Unmuted. Yeah, the peanut gallery told me I was muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello?
Okay. I can't hear you guys.
Just go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. So we do primarily tax T1 returns, and we have a referral program. So if somebody new comes to us, we say, how'd you hear about us? And if they say, oh, existing client told me, then once the new person files and pays, the existing client gets a $5 credit towards their next return.
Nice. It sounds very similar to what we do. We do have a formalized program. It's gone through a couple iterations, and we've been on the current one for a few years now. And what that is somebody refers us somebody else. There's a set dollar amount of credit, depending on the type of business, that will be awarded upon receiving payment from that new client. We don't apply that credit before we've been paid. And it's a set amount. It's a one-time thing. It's not like a revenue stream that exists forever. It's just a one-time thank you. that gets attached to their account. Now that is a little bit self-serving, and I'm going to talk about why. Because what happens if the person who made the referral is not a client? Then it's a credit on their account, right? But they don't actually do any business with us, so they'll never get to actualize that credit. Partially, it's an incentive to encourage people to do business with us, but we do eventually say, hey, you know what, we noticed you've sent us a fair bit of business over the past little while, so we're going to wipe out these credits and we're going to send you out a Keg gift card or something like that. But we're going to keep it under, a reasonable amount that's commensurate with the business. We're not sending anybody in. Jennifer, you still have your hand up. Is there more you want to add? No? Okay. Hand went down. All right.
Sorry, I thought I had lowered it, but
No worries. No worries. So just to talk briefly about that, when we do sign a bookkeeping client who's come from a referral or a corporate tax client, we provide a $100 credit and a $10 credit for personal tax clients. And again, it's just credits, but it creates expectations. So that's why I was asking earlier about the timing of those referrals and when that happens. That's why I was pushing Steve on that a bit more. It's important to clearly understand what needs to happen for the incentive to be awarded and when that incentive will be awarded. I think it's also very, very important to have a clear understanding of who will perform what service when you're working collaboratively with a client. So Tanya, her and I have been working together for quite a while now. It's pretty, we have it down pat. And when we got run into confusion, which does happen, in particularly with this tax planning client recently, we just hopped on the phone and we chatted about it. I realized that the client was completely misinterpreting what Tanya was saying and asking me about something that had nothing to do with what Tanya was telling her. And it was just, it was just an error.
And this is where having that good relationship is good, because we didn't have to get frustrated. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, she's frustrating me, asking this stuff again and again and saying, well, Jonathan said this, and I was about to pick up the phone and call him the same time he was picking up the phone and calling me. And we got it sorted so that way the client was getting one clear message, and it was basically kind of both of messages pulled into one, but she was saying slightly something different to Jonathan, and I was looking at it from a different point of view than he was, but we pulled it together. And again, if you've got somebody that you trust and you work with, we didn't sit there and think, well, why is Tanya saying something on my side of things that's over here, and I was actually not. But we didn't have any of that because we assumed immediately, instead of assuming we were working against each other, we assumed there was a miscommunication somewhere along the ways because we work together.
Yeah, that collaborative nature makes it so much easier. Just some more things about expectations. Make sure to be clear the nature of your relationship with the referral partner. We always do that. And I think and this was advice from CPA, from my insurance, and from my lawyer, was to disclose any potential conflict of interest, including incentives. So there is an investment company, Vulcan Asset Management in Port Credit, Ontario, who I've been working with for several years. They were founded the same year that Cata was. The guy has an amazing reputation, has done really, really well. And we do get an incentive. If a client we send his way signs in with him, we get a certain number of basis points. We also are sending that referral to other people as well. It's not only to that firm. And the reason we're doing that is not only to guard ourselves and to protect ourselves, but to give that client the choice. Sometimes clients work better with people of different fit. There's a woman out, she's quite a ways away from us, out on the shore of Lake Huron, who we have done business with a few times together. And we have no incentive relationship with her. She does a really good job for people. She's an Edward Jones rep. She does a really good job for people, and she's just very personable and can explain things very clearly. And in particular, some of the female clients we have felt more comfortable with her. And then, of course, there's the guy who's taking care of, my mother and my uncles and my aunts and stuff like that. And if the situation merits, then we'll refer to him. But the point being is, we're referring to people who we know are going to do a good job. And in all these referrals, we say we may or may not receive an incentive depending on any arrangements that we've made with that person. So I would be remiss without saying that Vulcan Asset did ask me to offer that if anybody, it does have people in Ontario looking, that the same BIPS program would be extended to anybody who we referred to them, and then that we would receive a much smaller number of BIPS, but we would on the first investment. So any questions about any of that? Tanya, you're talking away, I'm on mute.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just wanted to add in that although, yes, we refer to Jonathan, he is not the only accountant we refer to. He knows that. He is the first one on the list because we prefer that. Mike Ford is the second one for Toronto, who is, the Ontario area, who's a really, close part. But you know what? I've been working with Jonathan since he was growing the business. Mike's business has grown, so he doesn't need it as well, but he's on that list as well. They're the top two. If I were to refer, in Alberta, absolutely. I know Karen and I, although we've not met in person, we've been dealing, back and forth for years, probably I'd say 7 years when we first started chatting on social. I know Steve and Bori, over in BC. So it just, it simply all depends. Although most of our stuff is here, there's still that, and getting out to the conferences and meeting people so that you can start to get those relationships. Like Jonathan, to connect up with other bookkeepers, Jonathan and Steve, you guys have go to CPB, right?
Yeah.
To meet the bookkeepers and stuff. And then if you go to the Intuit or the Zero events, you're going to get both the accountants and bookkeepers. So yeah, just very powerful ways of meeting people and starting to really work on those relationships. But I'm going to shut up now because we're at end almost.
No worries. Oh my gosh, I just looked at my watch. Okay, so rewarding referrals, there are different ways to do it. Promotional and publicity. Positive publicity is fantastic. Financial payment or gifts or other non-monetary devices can be also very, very helpful. It's important to have a clear journey from when the referral is made and converted, what needs to happen, and when the incentive will be made. That needs to be spelled out clearly, or it can damage a relationship. We did experience that early on, but we had that conversation and that went away. Just randomly, I've also actually referred business to Mike Ford. I'm a big fan of the guy, and I got to show him my beard and give him a good laugh. So last bullet question, so everyone can get the all-important CPD. What is the biggest danger in referring business? This is 100% subjective question. So yeah, it's really answering to get the credit. But Tanya, you're on mute again. I'm trying to say stuff.
While people are answering this, I mute myself so I don't talk too much, right? I think it's very important to keep those continuing relationships, because we did have one of the 3 accountants we referred to. I had a very, very bad experience. It didn't start out that way. It was almost a year. Poor Jonathan was on the receiving end of my process of working through, which he's never seen before. And I think in one of our communications or whatever, he actually used the word vicious. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to my process. That's not the way I end up at the end. It was nasty, but I was very angry and had a right to be angry. But there were warning signs. I didn't look at that. And this is where, again, that continuing relationship to get to know people is going to be extremely important on that. And hopefully nobody else ends up with the same thing that I did. But, it can start off good and it can turn bad, just like anything.
Yep.
So, all right. So we're going to.
Is that the situation where you use ChatGPT to clean up the final communication? Or was that
I think that was before ChatGPT. I know you were involved in seeing and that's when you were like Tanya, this is kind of vicious.
No,
it kind of is.
That was your ChatGPT one.
Was ChatGPT? Okay.
Sure it was.
I don't remember that. You know what? They say that your mind blocks out things that are too traumatic. That's kind of one of those things that it's glossed over and blocked out because I've moved on. And by the way, just somewhere on some people know about that person has been, and it wasn't me. It's just karma. That person actually has been, has received 4 complaints to CPA Canada. And CRA is now attacking, like pulling all of their clients for reviews because there's been issues, because we have no longer any mutual clients, but clients now that he did the taxes for the corporate taxes in 2021 are now being audited for ridiculous things. And right now I've got $16,000 worth of write-offs that the accountant added in because the client said it, which yes, is good from the accountant standpoint. But this is where I said to the accountant, this is where, or the client, when we bookkeep, we audit proof as we go through. You told the accountant, you signed the tax return. He took you at your word because you weren't paying him to dig in. And we can't prove $16,000 worth of mileage that was added on.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's, and he did nothing wrong. He did absolutely nothing wrong with that. He did what his engagement told him to do. And this is where, you educate the clients on what everybody's role is so that they can understand, right? So, anyway, so there's the results.
Yep, everybody got their CPD, I hope. Awesome.
Yep.
I'm just gonna keep going because we're over time. So just to summarize, building a strong referral network, of make sure that they're gonna take care of your clients. It'll help you become a trusted advisor. Your clients are gonna come to you when they need additional services, when they need advice. I had a guy in BC email me late last night. I didn't get till this morning, but he emailed me. He's like, I think this lead is a scam. Can you help me out and have a look? And I looked at it. I'm pretty sure it's a scam too. And it was a very detailed, scam. But, if he gets involved, it could end up with thousands of dollars. So he's actually literally going to go knock on the door. He's in construction. He's going to go knock on the door and see who answers and have a chat with. Be aware of the dangers of referring your clients and vet any potential referral partners before doing business together. Most importantly, I think, is to set expectations. I love this quote when I found it. I just really love this quote. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. There are smaller accountants in particular out there who sell life insurance, mutual funds, and investments, and do mortgages and real estate and all this stuff. And my real kind of question for that is, how well can they do any one of those if they're doing them all? Especially in a really small organization. So anyway, I'd rather work with disparate professionals. One more random thing, and this is something I mentioned, a friend of mine who has done a by referral business. This is a booklet he sends out every year, and it's full of local businesses. And I'm showing this right. It's full of local businesses in his town that they have vetted and learned to trust over the years. Everything from movers to home insurance to accountants to bookkeepers. It's quite impressive. So we have a referral list where we, when we vet somebody and we're happy and we think they'll do a good job, they go on our list and anybody can see that list. So, a client in Milton is looking for a mortgage broker. Hey, we've got a few on here that they can speak to, things like that. Carrie, you had your hand up. Apologies. I can't hear you. Carrie, I can't hear you. Can you guys hear Carrie?
And although we're over, everybody's got CPD. So if you want to stay on, continue to stay on. If you need to jump off, you got your CPD. You're good. As long as you got both those questions. Gary's having tech issues.
Type question here. Type in the question. Okay. Pull it up here.
It's me.
Thanks, Alan.
It's me. I'm telling you, I am emitting this radiation that is messing tech up. So it's me, Carrie. And Karen, same thing with you when you had that. We'll blame that on me too.
Step away from the tech, Tanya.
Exactly. Totally.
Carrie, I can see you're off mute. Can you try saying something to us, or still not working? No, still not working.
No.
Jonathan,
Okay. That's okay.
email.
Carrie and I are chatting. We'll be chatting later today anyway.
Okay.
So if we need to pull you in, we'll just create an email thread or something. So, all right.
What's up, Steve?
Thank you very
Jonathan,
much,
question-
Jonathan and Tanya.
Perfect.
Question
Always
So much.
on something you mentioned earlier with regard to the Chamber of Commerce, and I agree with you. Good organizations or the Board of Trade. Do you have any recommendations, or does anyone in the group have any recommendations about how to get value out of the organization? I find they're same as you. The networking groups are more, sales are on one side, or you're bombarded by sales or people approaching you about sales. But what about their training courses are good. Some of their meet and greets are nice. Any recommendations at all?
If you ask me that in 6 months, I might have answers, because one thing I'm doing this year is we've been a member of our chamber for a decade, but we've never actually been involved. So now that I'm stepping into that, now that Leanne's not here, I'm stepping into the marketing role. I'm getting back into all of these and trying to find my spot in that. And I don't know what I'm going to find in the chamber. So I've put my name forward to get into one of the committees. We already do the books, so they're trying to find where they can put me that wouldn't be a conflict, which is fine. I said, I just want to try to educate, but you're right. Like, I'll find out more as to, again, so again, 6 months from now, I may have advice for you, but I would love to hear what people say, because I'm just stepping into that.
Lynn has something
Yeah.
to say.
Lynn.
Not advice, my feedback, my experience. I did belong to the chamber here locally years ago. And I used to go out to the luncheons, and then I went to the after hours and meetups, and very nice group, very relaxed and casual. And you meet all these wonderful people and have a conversation with them and everything. And after a few years, I got one referral for it, which was negligible in the revenue department. And the guy still stiffed me for the bill. So kind of put a sour taste in my mouth, and I stopped going after. I just stopped being a member and stopped going.
Did you not find that the events and that you said that they were good though? They were enjoyable. It is a different aspect to the business. If you're not going in there to try and sell, or if you're not going in there to try and get referrals, it's just more of a true networking sense that you just, hey.
It was more of a social thing, and I didn't find that you really made good connections. People were very superficial, and yeah, it wasn't a deep connection, like we've had conversations, you and I, Steve, where we've connected, but I didn't find that I made those same kind of connections at any of the chamber events that I went to.
That's because we're just wonderful people.
Yeah.
That's it.
You see, I
Thanks
had
for the comment.
I had a
Sorry?
really different experience at MBOT. So I did meet some people. I did get a little bit of business out of it. What I was finding was there was a lot of price shopping going on, and that was where that business was generating from. So it wasn't for the right reasons I was getting business, but I did make some very lasting connections. And years after leaving MBOT, every now and again, I'll still get, communication from somebody there. It's like, hey, this person is looking for personal taxes. Can you help them out? And incidentally, MBOT is where I actually met Aaron Chazé, the founder of Vulcan Asset Management. And I mean, he's, like I said, we become partners. His chief salesperson lives just up the road from Amy Lewis, across the lake from us. And I actually still see Bill quite often. So can get some relationships there, but you can't go in with a sales mentality. It has to be just genuine.
Well, I think it also depends too, on the chamber. I know our chamber, and part of the reason why, we had our name there, but I wasn't really involved at one point, was because it was truly an old boys club. It was the traditional old boys club, and they didn't let new people in. They were it was just, it was really crazy. Now they had the same CEO for 20 years who fostered that environment. There is now a different CEO. There's a woman CEO who really shook things up. And so things are changing. She's trying to make it much more inclusive and, much more, again, not just welcoming the new people. So it's really changed. So a lot can do with the people that are running it, and the people that are on the committees. If you've got the same people who don't like to do any change and want to keep this type of environment, it can really change that. So that's that's definitely the one thing I've noticed, because we'd put in several times for the books, but we were rejected because they didn't want to work with QuickBooks Online. The new person came in and said, no, this is garbage, because they weren't getting their books done properly, by the old firm. But again, they were just very comfortable in that old boys club type mentality. So, I think it all depends on who's running it, who's the CEO. So maybe what wasn't a good fit now might be a good fit, 5 years from now, or it might be a worse fit. Who knows?
Well, and that's
I'm
true.
really,
Sorry, Jonathan. That's true, Tanya, is it depends on the group and who's at the helm, but it also depends on the community. And I know that Abbotsford is a difficult community for just about any group out here. There's a strange mindset. We're kind of a farming community. We're kind of a bedroom community. We're kind of a lot of things, but I think it's closed off in many ways,
And Belleville's the same thing. We've learned here, and we said that to Sandra lots, and we heard it. It's who you know, not what you know. You can know everything, but they're still going to hire. It's a very much who you know. And when you move here, it's almost like they give you a year to prove that you're tough enough to stay, or you get fed up and move out, because trying to find those jobs. I mean, Rod was schlepping all the way to Peterborough, so an hour and a bit drive, highway driving in no weather and no traffic, to make a minimum wage as a welder, because here they'd rather hire somebody with no welding experience because they know them. And it's like we moved out west to BC, or to Alberta, to Calgary. He got scooped up because he worked for a great company. He had great everything, and it was what he knew. Here, they don't give a crap. And it's the same thing. We're half farming. We're 2.5 hours outside of the city, so you could potentially be bedroom. And it just seems that these types of communities are unique.
Yeah,
You got to prove you got the grits to stay. So,
well, I gave it a few years, and then I just said, I got other things to do, and I just couldn't give it any more time.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what's going to happen. I'm very much intentionally have waited to join the Aurelia and Area Chamber, but I'll be joining later in the year just to get more involved in the community, if nothing else. And really, that's part of my goal, is to just get more involved in the community. But I'm interested to see what happens here, because Aurelia is changing.
Yeah.
It's definitely changing. It's becoming a lot more cosmopolitan, a lot more diverse, a lot more advanced technologically speaking. So yeah, I'm curious to be part of that journey and just see what happens.
Or really, it was probably very similar to here, that it was probably, again, the same people at the helm, same type of thing. And then now, again, because you've got more people moving up there, more whatnot, a little, hopefully the change in things. And this is, where I really like this one. It's more focused on education. And that's why I'm getting more involved. Hey, if I can get the referrals out of it as well too, but 2024 is going to be to educate. Like, I'm focused on that. We have to educate, because with the AI coming out, all of this other stuff, people think AI can do it. No. I'll just tell you guys here on the call that you guys may not have been aware of this, but I did this for a presentation to my SRT group, that Ernst & Young, one of the big five, and yes, this is looking at US stats, but what happens in the US ultimately happens here. We know that. They went and started using AI. They cut down their staff, went to using AI. Yes, they've got different compliance rules there than we do up here, but their stats, their IRS error rate went from, in 1 year, 21% to 46%. And the reason for that was AI. Now, they did get fined. They got fined $30 million for that year. This is 2022 in fines that they were responsible for. Nothing like, and this is from their bodies, not, CRS or IRS penalties. It was nothing like that. And that equated to a 0.000261% of their income. They saved 25% of their income by hiring the staff. So to them, they put the Nike Michael Jordan thing. Hey, we'll pay the penalties. It's worth it, right? Which that was my push, and what I'm trying to help educate people on. When you're looking for an accountant, a bookkeeping firm, you need to find out, do they have the proper security? Are they using AI? If they're using AI, what are they using it for? We use AI, absolutely. But we're using it ethically, and we still look at every single receipt. So because there's a lot of people that are popping up, bookkeepers that are popping up doing it, accountants that are popping up saying, hey, we're going to bring the bookkeeping in, and they have very different ethics than people on this call. And it's usually the bigger firms and whatnot that, you know, but it's happening on both sides of it with accountants and bookkeepers, and the AI is being used irresponsibly, and who's paying it's ultimately the consumer. So my focus is on educating people on that. And hey, if I get a cut of the business, great. But if not, I know it's ultimately going to help us, you know, with bookkeepers being recognized as professionals, and, you know, hopefully the accountants that are offering the bookkeeping services, you know, are actually recognizing, you know, bookkeeping is not just coding from the bank feed or coding from statements, because, you know, and unfortunately, those are usually the old CA ones. And I'm, you know, hopefully nobody on this call is one of those people. And if so, please let's have a conversation on the ethical use of AI and machine learning. I'm passionate about that, because at the end of the day, we're all here for our clients. And yeah, so.
Tanya, on that point too, and to the topic that Jonathan brought up today, which I thought was excellent. I'm finding that the more I attend the different groups such as this, when there are referrals involved, the people in this room are not the ones that are going to take your clients. We're working together. We're learning. We're each learning more.
Yeah.
And we're the ones, it's sort of, this whole group is a support group. And it's, I just think it's a great topic to have, and also to recognize that, you know, the individuals that are learning more to try and get better, it just makes the whole industry better. And we're not competing against each other is the biggest thing. I think
And that's
competition.
co-opetition, and that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Because, you know, I was still referring to Jonathan even when I thought we'll never get a referral back, we'll not get a reciprocating referral back, and then we did, you know, but it didn't stop it, because I knew we had a great relationship. And, you know, he found something that was a better fit. And again, Steve, I know you well enough to know I wouldn't even hesitate, because I'm all about service. With me, it's, are you doing what's right for the client? Are you speaking to them what's right? And, you know, are you a good person? Basically, I'm going to be working ethically. So I absolutely know you well enough to say that by now. And you're right, it's the community. Carrie's just getting involved in some of these communities, and it's so important. And it is co-opetition, and we help raise each other. And that's what this is. And when Jonathan came to me and said, let's do this to really help bridge the difference. And, you know, again, some of you know, because of my bad experiences, I thought very negatively about accountants, but it was just the wrong people I hung with. Now I found my right accountants. And you know what? I will absolutely acknowledge there's accountants out there. And we've got one going through boot camp right now who has said, with going through boot camp and seeing this, he's like, wow, I have a whole different perception about what professional bookkeepers do. You know, and it's raised his respect as well. So it's, yeah, these communities, absolutely. Yeah, sorry, she's found her forever home. No, sorry. Don't be Canadian, don't say sorry. But no, you're right. So thank you for saying that, Steve, but you're absolutely right. And it is this, and getting to know people and getting to trust and helping. We all have the same goal.
Yeah.
And that's where you find your people. And yeah, it's, yeah. Anyway, so and I love all you guys too.
So I hope everybody gets some referrals this year and gives some referrals as well. And yeah.
All right, why do you have to go? I have to do a restart. So thank you for everybody who stayed on. It's always great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.